All right, it's good to be back, even if it is digitally nonetheless. I'm actually still in Fort Lee, but I wanted to get a head start and prepare to finish up the semester with you all. I'm pretty excited, pretty pumped. We have a couple units left, and then for you seniors, you'll be on your way. So we're going to go ahead and get started. The purpose of this video is to help you with the notes and to provide my own thoughts in addition to just the text that's going to be on the PowerPoint. So if you would, I'd recommend following along with me. We're going to be looking at the judicial branch PowerPoint. So we're going to be starting off on the first slide. Okay, we have the Supreme Court pictured there. Nothing much to say about that. Moving on to our next slide, we have criminal versus a civil case. So the purpose of this first section of notes is to essentially get you some of the basic terms within the Supreme Court. So we're going to begin by talking about criminal versus civil case. Okay, criminal case, as it mentions, committing an action that is a violation of federal law. Okay, so this means that you committed a crime, which is a crime in any state in the union, and you have to answer for it. Okay, it's not just state law, it's a federal law. If you are in a civil case, okay, this is something that's not a criminal matter per se, usually dealing with things of everyday life, like contract issues, copyright laws, that sort of a thing. Okay, so think about not like violent crimes, but everyday life kind of situations you might hear in the news, like someone stole someone's song. All right, we're going to have a civil case. That would be an example in that situation. Moving on to our next slide, two kinds of federal courts. So we're going to be talking about what in the heck a federal court is later on, but for this slide, okay, you should know that there's a Supreme Court. That's the big dog, the most important, most respected court of the land, but that's not the only court at the federal level. There's also constitutional courts and special courts. And as you can see from this image, there are different courts within those court systems, but you don't have to know those, okay? This is more just a graphic for you to recognize that there are two different levels of inferior courts, but they're all federal, okay? And most importantly, they are below the Supreme Court. So just essentially know that they exist, they're federal, and then deal with very specific issues, as you can see from that slide there. Okay, slide 4, the creation of the national judiciary. So this is essentially explaining to you why we have a Supreme Court. So it's based within our Constitution, okay? We are bound by the Constitution to have a body of people that come together and decide, pretty simply put, what laws are constitutional and which laws are not. That's the whole point of this unit. Okay, we're moving on to types of jurisdictions. Okay, jurisdiction is essentially the area of control that somebody has. Okay, so if you think about, like, let's say Windsor Heights Police, their jurisdiction is Windsor Heights. It's not Johnston, it's not Des Moines, it's that region within Des Moines known as Windsor Heights. That's their jurisdiction, that's their area of control. Well, the same method applies to the court system, except for instead of worrying about each individual city, the court system is a little easier in that it's based upon two big categories. Okay, we have federal court and we have the state court. Okay, so now that we have that knowledge, okay, federal court meaning what we just talked about, those special courts in the Supreme Court, and then state court, which is one that we can find down at or down near the capital of Des Moines. Okay, what constitutes cases to be heard at either one? Okay, why is one case federal? Why is one case state? So slide 6, okay, we're getting into what that is all about. So essentially, anything dealing with a constitutional issue is going to be a federal court case. And that's because the Constitution isn't unique to just people of Iowa or Minnesota. The Constitution applies to who? That's right, everybody. The whole country of the United States adheres to and follows the Constitution. So anything that it is questioning or dancing on a point within the Constitution, that's going to become a federal court case. Okay, so that's essentially slide 6. Slide 7 gives an account for, okay, if there's something that is not necessarily a constitutional issue, where is it heard? Okay, and that's where we begin to talk about the state courts. So starting at the very top, a court case that is exclusive can only be heard at a federal court. So looking back to that previous slide, if something is a constitutional issue, that's going to be an exclusive court case, meaning it can only be heard. It's exclusive to the federal court system, the Supreme Court. Concurrent. Okay, that's going to be a situation where a court case can be heard at either the state or the federal level. And we're going to get into some notes later on that will help us to decipher how that plays out. But just know that concurrent means, hey, this case can be heard at a state court or a federal court. Okay. And then finally, the last one is very simple, state. So a state court case is just like you would expect, heard at the state level. Okay, so those are the three primary court cases: exclusive, concurrent, and state. All right, and finally, to round out this little mini lecture, we're going to be talking about original and appellate jurisdiction. So for those that are following along with me, I'm on slide number 8. So original jurisdiction, that's essentially saying that, hey, this is where the case was first heard. We're going to be learning about the appeals process in our next class, but essentially wherever a case starts, so let's say a case starts at the state level, so the Iowa Supreme Court, and it goes to the Supreme Court. If they were to say, okay, what's the original jurisdiction of this case? You'd say the Iowa Supreme Court. That's where it was first introduced, this court case. So original jurisdiction is asking, okay, where did this case start? Where did this court case come from? That's original jurisdiction. Next one, appellate jurisdiction. Okay, so that's essentially where a case is appealed to after its original court case. So, like I said earlier, there's a note down below, and we're going to be getting into this more on our next class. But appeals means if you're on the side that loses the court case, you don't like how it ended up for you, you're going to say, all right, we're going to appeal this case to the next level of authority in the court system. So an appellate jurisdiction, okay, is a court that hears a case after it's been appealed. So let's say that we're at the Iowa Supreme Court, okay, my side loses, all right, I'm then going to elect to appeal to another level above the Iowa Supreme Court, so some kind of a federal court. I want to move up to that level and have my case heard there. That then becomes the appellate jurisdiction. So courts that hear a case on appeals from a lower court. That'd be my case. So that's going to do it for our brief notes today. Please feel free to go back and look through those slides as you see fit. You're going to have a short assignment using your textbook/Google, simply asking you more about the basic terms of the Supreme Court system and overall justice system as a whole here in the U.S. So thank you for watching, and stay tuned. I'll be coming out with another video about our next section of notes this week. Have a good day.